Hello and welcome back to Mindful NutriNut. I'm your host, 𝐀𝐟𝐼𝐥𝐢𝐚, ready to take you on another deep dive into the fascinating world of nutrition and health. Today, I have something crucial to clear up related to stress. Is it really necessary to fear it and try to get rid of it at all costs? Or maybe you can make the stress work for you? Let's find out. 2 episodes back, I talked about how crucial stomach acid is for our overall health, how it has critical roles in managing nutrient absorption, regulating the function of the valve between esophagus and stomach, stimulating pancreas to release digestive enzymes, killing bacteria, yeast and parasites, and more. If you haven't listened to this one, I urge you to, as it's full of life-changing information. Now, one of the main contributors to firstly high and then low stomach acid that I discussed was stress. If you want to know how it can lead to both conditions, low and high acidity, go and listen to the episode. In fact, I scared you quite a bit with stress. How you need to get rid of it ASAP or else? Well, this is what I had read and had been told so far. In fact, when I went to my functional medicine doctor back in April, she caused me more stress and anxiety by emphasizing how detrimental the stress is and how I need to do something quickly or else something really bad is going to happen. Since then, I've read, watched and listened a lot on the power of our thoughts and how they can change almost every process in our bodies. For the fundamentals and the science behind it, I highly recommend Joe Dispenza's series Rewired on Gaia.com. It's a subscription-based platform, but to me it's immensely worth it as I get to learn all about what's been thought as a woo-woo stuff, but that actually has science and of course anecdotes behind it. And it's not an ad, by the way, just a real fan here. So when you get into all the information that's out there, it seems that the way we think might be one of the most important factors that determine whether we are healthy or ill. In fact, that's what my husband has been telling me for 20 years, and this spring I finally found my way to this realization that comes from deep down. This is an excellent example of how you can't force anything on anyone, even if you have the best intentions. If they are not ready, they'll develop even more resistance. So let them follow their path, and when they're ready, be there to help and guide them. Let's illustrate these thoughts. For example, people with a positive attitude about aging live longer than those who hold negative stereotypes about getting older. One classic study by researchers at Yale University followed middle-aged adults for 20 years. Those who had positive view on aging in midlife lived an average of 7.6 years longer than those who had a negative view. To put that number in perspective, for example, exercising, not smoking, and maintaining healthy blood pressure and cholesterol levels have been shown on average to add less than 4 years to your lifespan. Another example of a belief with long-reaching beneficial impact has to do with trust. Those who trust others tend to live longer. In a 15-year study by Duke University researchers, 60% of adults over the age of 55 who viewed others as trustworthy were still alive at the end of the study. On the other hand, 60% of those who were more cynical had died. Okay, moving back to my example, I already had a realization that my thoughts equal how my body functions, but I still focused on eliminating that stress. Quite successfully, by the way. In those past 4 months or so, I meditated my ass off, and I have arrived to a much more peaceful self, but still sometimes fears, anxiety, and stress creep in. So, what did I discover about stress? Can it be befriended instead without eliminating it entirely? As it so happens, I was studying for my holistic nutritionist course, nervous system symptomatology to be more precise, and was directed to a TED talk by 𝐀𝐟𝐼𝐥𝐬𝐚, and this talk really put all the puzzle pieces together for me. She started out by telling about a scientific finding from 1998, so a while ago, where 30,000 adults in the United States were asked how much stress they had experienced in the past year. And they were also asked, do you believe stress is harmful to your health? And what did they find? 8 years later, using the public records, the researchers found out who had died. Now, indeed, stress is bad for you, as those who had high levels of stress had increased their risk of dying by 43%. But, and here comes the punchline, that applied only to people who also believed that stress was harmful to them. On the other hand, people who reported high levels of stress but who did not think of it as something harmful were not more likely to die. What's more, they even had the lowest risk of death of anyone in the study, even lower than those who reported experiencing very little stress. So, it's not stress alone that kills people, but rather the combination of stress and the belief that stress is harmful. To illustrate this issue further, the researchers estimated that over the 8 years they conducted a study, 182,000 Americans have died prematurely because they believed that stress was harming their health. This is over 20,000 deaths a year. According to statistics from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, that would make believing stress is bad for you the 15th leading cause of death in the United States. Digest that. In the light of all that I've been telling, should you forget about stress management techniques? No, definitely not. Good sleep hygiene, deep breathing, movement, mindfulness, real deep connections with others is all extremely important. But it might be that you lessen their benefits by fearing the stress. Can you imagine a life without any stress? I don't think it's possible. So it would be maybe wise to learn to live with it. In fact, the latest science reveals that stress can make you smarter, stronger, and more successful. It can help you learn and grow and even inspire courage and compassion. All in all, changing your mind about stress can make you healthier and happier. But remember, we are talking about stress here and not severe depression. The way I see it, you would need to climb out of the depression hole and reach to grab the edge of stress in order to make it work in your benefit. At the same time, 𝐀𝐟𝐼𝐥𝐬𝐚 in her book, The Upside of Stress, confesses that embracing stress has helped her in the most difficult situations like dealing with the death of a loved one, coping with chronic pain, and even overcoming a paralyzing fear of flying. That's also what she's heard from her students. The stories they share usually aren't about getting better at juggling deadlines or dealing with an irritating neighbor. They are about coming to terms with the loss of a spouse, facing a lifelong struggle with anxiety, making peace with a past that includes childhood abuse, losing a job, getting through cancer treatment. It might all be because of how you think about yourself and what you can handle. I personally intend to start using the techniques she describes in her book and really test them out. One example I'd like to bring is that, for instance, when you are in a stressful situation requiring you to perform either an exam, presentation, job interview, or major public performance, and you start to feel your heart rate going up, try to think of your physical symptoms as an ally as opposed to an enemy. Adrenaline is being pumped and your blood vessels dilate so that you can perform better. This is your body's way of supporting you to get through the situation the best way possible. The typical body's response to stress is that your heart rate goes up and your blood vessels constrict. And this is one of the reasons that chronic stress is associated with cardiovascular disease. Now, there was a study conducted at Harvard University. Before the participants were put through a social stress test, they were taught to rethink their stress response as helpful, that their body is energized and is preparing them to meet this challenge, that pounding heart is preparing you for action. If you're breathing faster, it's getting more oxygen to your brain. Now, the ones who learned to view the stress response as helpful were less stressed out, less anxious, and more confident. The fascinating fact is how their physical response changed. Remember I said that usually your blood vessels constrict in stressful situation? Well, those people's blood vessels stayed relaxed despite the fact that their heart was pounding. It actually looked a lot like in the moments of joy and courage. So, if you view your stress in a positive way, your body believes you and your stress response becomes healthier. I don't know about you, but I definitely want to give this approach a go. I think I ought to make another episode when I've experimented for a few months and either do see or don't see any changes, and share which tools were the most and least helpful for me. If this is something you'd be interested in, let me know. And furthermore, I'd be very interested to know whether you yourself had tried this approach and what were the results. I'd love to share your experience with others if you find it helpful. So if you listen on YouTube, leave a comment. On Spotify, there's a question box, or simply send me a DM on Instagram. Let's connect and make this community stronger. Until next time.